This is Mike Pope, and just wanted to tell a little story. So we went to Florida last week, and I tweaked my back a little bit. So instead of taking a trailer down with us full of stuff from the house to put into the garage, we took the boat down and a few other things. Not as much stuff as we had planned on, but with the boat, we hadn't really used it here in the last year where we've been storing it at. It's been like an hour away from getting it on the water, actually a little bit longer than that. By the time you get all that done, it's when you're used to being 5 minutes away, it was definitely a bit of a change for me. So struggled a little bit with that. So instead of keeping the boat where we were, we decided, hey, we've already got it registered in Florida. Let's go ahead and take it down there. And then, whenever we're down there, hey, we can just hop in it and go. So we did that last week, and it was a little more entertaining of a trip than we planned on. So I'd done the prep on the work and done some maintenance on it last year. And since we really hadn't taken it out this year, I hadn't thought much about it. So just did a few things to get it ready for the trip. And the day before, I took the Jeep out to get it all ready. And so when we left the next morning, we took the truck and picked up the boat. And as soon as we pulled out from picking up the boat, I'm like, oh crap, I forgot to put DEF in the truck yesterday. And I had like a quarter tank of DEF left. So I told her, I was like, well, we can make it all the way down to probably somewhere in Georgia along 59, because we tend to go that way these days because going down 65 just has so much traffic, and we've been caught in multiple traffic jams that way that have added over an hour to the trip. So the entire way Google Maps is fighting us and trying to get us to go down 65 until we got to Chattanooga pretty much, and then it finally gave up and said, okay, you're going 59, we get it. So but when we pulled out of the place we had the boat stored at, we were doing about 35, 40 miles an hour, and I felt this vibration. And my first thought was, tires might be a little bit flat spotted, otherwise should be okay. And it worked itself out. After 10, 20 miles, vibration was totally gone, so we thought all was good. We just hammered on down, went on down the road, and we got down to an eighth of a tank of DEF, and I told her we gotta stop. And she found a pilot station in Rising Fawn, Georgia, just off of Interstate 59. And we pulled in, and as we pulled in, there was this popping noise. And I looked at her kind of funny and was like, what the heck was that? And Karen said, I have no clue. And we got to the pump, and diesel fuel row 23 will forever be ingrained in our minds at the pilot station in Rising Fawn, because we got there, and after I got out of the truck, immediately I saw that the driver's side tire on the trailer was just leaning way out at the top. It was cambered out. Thing looked like it was about ready to fall off. And I went back and looked at it. Both bearings were gone. The nut holding it on was gone. And honestly, it's a praise that we had not filled up with DEF the day before, and that we had not, had that wheel come flying off on the way down the interstate before we got as far as we did. We were about 100 or so miles into this trip, and that was about a 450, 500 mile trip. So once we figured out what was going on, I went ahead and filled up the truck and put DEF in it and topped off the fuel. And I went inside and I asked, I said, do y'all have anybody available that could work on this trailer? And I said, it at least needs new bearings, if not a new axle. And she said she definitely did. called a local guy, and he came out and took a look at it. And we were about 30 minutes from Chattanooga at this point. But he took a look at it and told us that it was definitely the axle that was done. Looked like the bearing had rusted to the hub and to the spindle. So, once we got going down the road, it just created all this friction, melted down, and just destroyed the axle and the bearing. So he started on the hunt for a new axle. Here we are sitting in the middle of nowhere in Georgia, and he had the guy working with him try Tractor Supply, and they didn't have one. They said that's a specialty item and will take 4 to 6 weeks to get. And so they called another place, and he called probably 4 or 5 people, and he finally found a buddy of his up in Chattanooga that had one. But the axle was about 4 inches wider than the one I had, as well as having the spring perches in the wrong location. So he measured where the spring perches were, and he had all that information with him. He went up to Chattanooga and got the axle, and after he did that, he took it back to his shop and worked on it for a while, cutting off the spring perches, re-welding on the new ones. Came back, and we took the fenders off the boat trailer when he got back, and after all was said and done, we'd ate a bag of Doritos, 2 Cokes, and sat in the fuel lane for 6 hours that day. And he didn't charge us an extremely unreasonable rate. If it had been anywhere in Tennessee or along Interstate 65, I'm sure it would have been over $2,500. But heck, he came in under $1,000, and he worked on getting that thing ready all day long. And we were super blessed. It could have been a whole lot worse if the wheel had came off going down the road. The wheel could have struck someone else's vehicle, as well as we could have lost the boat, and it may have, depending on the way the road was at the time, could have ended up wrecking the truck too. So we were beyond blessed that it all happened when it did, and that I had forgotten to fill the truck up with DEF the day before, because if I had, we'd have just drove right on by that exit like nobody's business, and probably a mile down the road lost that wheel. And there wouldn't have been much we could have done at that point. But anyway, it turned a trip that we were initially planning to be in Port St. Joe, Florida around 5 p.m. We rolled in there at midnight. And we didn't put the boat in the garage right away. We just went on to a hotel that we were staying at. And they luckily had parking for us, so for the boat and the truck. They didn't have a whole lot. We actually parked across the street at a church, but there was no issues with that. We got it all put away the next day. But along with that trip, so it wasn't just about transporting the boat down. We also wanted to do a photo shoot down there with the sunsets, and there's quite a few different wildlife in that area than what you see right here around Tennessee. So, and you see it in a lot of places there. So we, after we got done with the boat and some of that, we went back and went out to the port, to St. Joseph's Bay. That's right there. It's a block and a half from our lot down there, and got some beautiful sunset shots with the sailboat in it right off the bay there. It was just stunning. And then as we were putting the camera away and the sun was down too far to see real well, but a bald eagle flew right over us and over the lot, and it just solidified us wanting to be down there quicker even more. So just beautiful weather, beautiful trip. We were down there for about 4 days, and even with that, we talked to my cousin a little bit who put together our house plans for us, and he said the structural engineer has finally gotten to reviewing our plans, and they had a couple questions. So we covered that while we were down there. Had some amazing seafood, and yeah, nice smooth trip back with no issues at all. But just thought I'd give you an update on what's been going on for the last week or 2 weeks, really. And right now I'm planning to start doing some fall color shoots around Tennessee. And we actually will be going over to North Carolina about mid-October to try and get some shots in there too. And hopefully it'll be just absolutely stunning there. We haven't had a whole lot of rain in Middle Tennessee recently, so they're starting to change, but they're looking more brown than they are yellows and reds. So we'll see how it goes, but hopefully the colors come out really well. And that pretty much wraps it up. Do have right now the calendar, 2023 calendar is available on Etsy and both the sundogphotography.com webpage.